What's going on, guys? It's Solace. I'm back on another video. I need to stop fighting. Today, I had a moment at work where my ego spiked, and I quickly realized that's what was happening, which I think shows a lot of growth compared to how I thought about myself and my ego months ago. And I quickly just began to shut down any narratives my ego was causing to spawn in my consciousness that I felt the need to validate. I just started saying to myself in my brain, that's okay. Because it is. The ego is always looking for threats, it's always fighting. And I believe the ego is always fighting for a sense of permanence. I think in the wake of social media and the scape that is our society now, especially with our generation, we believe there's permanence and validation, especially externally. We see it all the time through fame and notoriety. We believe these things are, in a sense, immortal. And I think that our ego is looking for that same immortality, but it's confusing it with a sense of self and our own consciousness and our own escape within ourselves. And I think that the moment we stop fighting for this sense of immortality, we actually gain the freedom to be immortal because you're no longer bound by the trends. You're not bound by the time period or these narrative that society is conjuring up about your generation or your race or your gender or your favorite song or whatever it is. And I think that once the fighting stops, the ego no longer has a reason to exist because you no longer have a reason to defend yourself from whatever narrative you believe or whatever threats that are coming your way. The ego spikes at times for me where like I said before, I have a very short temper or a short realm of patience with people that misinterpret me and misunderstand me. And I realize that my ego is always fighting to be understood because it's seeking connection. It's seeking, really what I'm seeking is connection, and my ego is preventing that. My ego is trying to misconstrue understanding with connection, with intimacy, and unfortunately, ironically, I think that intimacy and connection allows for misunderstanding, allows for misinterpretation. And I think that the ego is always trying to find a way to remove freedom from others. It's trying to find a way to remove choices from others. Your ego is always suiting itself to push whatever narrative that causes its existence to be so prominent onto others. And people do the same to you. It's called projection. We do it all the time, subconsciously, consciously. It's done to us every day. We don't even realize it sometimes. Sometimes we do. And I think that being someone who's very perceptive, being someone who's able to discern a lot of projections from other people and projections from myself, I think it's kind of like almost like my ego and I are having conversations now because my perception and my discernment is so well developed, and it's always been like that since I was little, that now instead of me arguing with my ego, I'm willing to have conversations with it because I accept that it's there. I I talked about how in a previous video about, like not doing it for the ego, doing it for you. And I think ego deaths do sometimes have to happen, but I think that the ego is always going to find a way to come back. And those are the times where you need to learn to have conversations with your ego in the sense of asking it questions like, why do you exist when this happens? Why do you pop up when I get that look? Why do you pop up when I get that text? Why do you spawn when so and so said this about me for the umpteenth time? Why does it always bring you about every time it's said? And I think those questions for your ego can lead to deeper answers to really truly get rid of it. The ego, in my opinion, is a combination of many things. It's a combination of wounds. It's a combination of narratives. It's a combination of heard, misinterpreted, misunderstood opinions. These things that stick with you that you allow to damage you because you didn't have a sense of self when you heard them, and they stick with you. and you subconsciously begin to build yourself in an image, in a likeness, to destroy those narratives without even realizing it unless you address them. The ego always tries to find a way to put a band-aid on wounds that really need stitches, and I think that the moment you have those deep conversations with yourself, you ask yourself those questions and you stop fighting, you just allow yourself to just experience the wound, it gives you answers. Because every time you allow the ego to soothe you, you're showing yourself you can't deal with the same weapon that inflicted the wound in the first place, and you're never letting the wound that initially happened to heal, because you're allowing it to reopen every time you take off the band-aid, every time you take away the medicine that is the perseverance through the feeling, through the spike, through the emotion. Allowing yourself to consciously tell yourself to not react, to hold yourself back, isn't necessarily a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely times where you do need to speak up for yourself and defend yourself. I don't mean just allow things to happen all the time, no matter what degree it may be. But what I do mean is, when you know that your ego is crying out for you to fix it, for you to handle it, for you to deal with it, I think those are the times where you just need to let it sit. Just let it sit. Just deal with it. Because really, what you're gonna come to find out is that that whole thing that spiked your whole nervous system, the whole thing that had you set off the rails, really didn't matter. It just really didn't. It doesn't matter at all. Like, the thing that's got you sitting up late at night, constantly thinking about that one event, you're in limerence, you're reminiscing about that one conversation, you keep breaking down every single line, every single text, every single thing you said, you're breaking down their reaction, their body language, their eye contact, all of that. The event doesn't change. Your ego is seeking change, it's seeking permanence, it's seeking immortality, and more importantly, it's also seeking control. But hey, that's just me though.